In this video we are going to see how to create this project. You can see we can preview the image and we can drag and change the position of the div. Now if I wish to upload and preview, and you can see I can preview the image and I can also upload multiple image over here. And if you wish to drag, you can drag it and change the position of this section. And I can close it as well. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. And along with the animation it is getting deleted. If you can add a section as well, and you can get the source code in the description to follow with me. And these are the steps that we are going to create, and this is the 26th JavaScript project. So let's create our first step. These are the steps which we are going to follow. I will leave this also in the description. Now we are going to create a dynamic section when I click on a button. So let me explain the HTML. I'm going to start the script from scratch, and I'll keep the script in another file. Now you just have to understand a div, which is a holder, and that holds the whole section which is going to get dynamically created. You don't have to worry about what is inside. Just understand where the parent is, which is holder. It's here, and these whole section is going to get dynamically created. You don't have to worry about it. Just understand this is going to get dynamically created. If I paste it again inside the holder, this is how it looks if I dynamically load it. Now fine, that is the scope for the first module. So this we have a two button, each button as a class, bootstrap class. Now we are going to add a listener to the window. That means when our window is loaded, I want a function to get triggered. So for that, window dot add listen add event listener. The event name is load, and in the second parameter we'll pass the function what it should do on the load. So I'll just show you a message, say let's load it. Fine. Now if you refresh, the script calls the window and the window runs the message. Now when clicked, I'm going to get the button. I have already given the ID to the button, so I can call the button over here in the JavaScript with the help of document.getElementById and store it into a variable. And I'm not going to store it into a variable. I'm going to add directly a listener, which is click. When I click on it, I want to get this function to get executed. So inside this function I will pass a message, say you clicked on button. Fine. If you see, it's working fine. Now in place of the message, I'm going to copy the whole section of the div and place it. I'm going to call the container using the query selector. I'm going to use the query selector, not query selector all, because query selector is a single one. Query selector all is for the multiple one. And I'm going to append the HTML, which I said the div which we will be dynamically creating. Just copy paste the whole div inside the inner HTML, inside the holder, with the help of the property inner HTML. Fine, I have pasted it. Now if you refresh and click on add, it should get added. It's not working. It is because we have to add plus over here. Click on it, and now you can see you can create as many as you want. Now create closable section. Now we're going to create a closable section. For that I'm going to add a span tag. This is the container, and just inside it as a direct child, I'm going to have a class. I'm going to have a span tag with class close. We cannot use close because close is a default keyword. Will use a name as closes. You can give any name, that's not the issue. I have given the style over here, simply the position and background color to it. Let me add X over here. You can add font awesome as well. Just for temporary I have added X. Fine. Now we have added the span tag. Now I'm going to add listener, add a click listener to it. Since it is dynamically created for the event delegation, we'll choose the parent, which is container, with the name holder, and I'm going to add listener click to it. Now wherever you click on the container, the function is going to get triggered. To streamline it, I'm going to see if let me show the message. If the target has a class, you can see wherever I click I can get the element using e.target. I'm clicking somewhere else, you can see wherever I click I'm getting the element. I'm going to streamline it with, if the element has a class closes, then we would get the message true. It's true. Fine. Now make it if condition. If the element is the span tag, then I have created a model. I want to show this model. I have made this model display none with the help of CSS. So when I click on the span tag, I want to get the display property as block. So that's done. Display block. I have given none to the style sheet. If you see, you can see on the bottom I have given display none. So when the page loads, it's display none. So when I click on the span tag, it is going to get display block. So you can see the message, which you can see as model. Now again we are going to add a listener to the ID, to the button with ID confirm. So let's create a add event listener. Call the ID and store it into a variable. Then add listener to this button. You'll get the button. So I'm going to add a click listener to it. The click should be the first parameter and the function should be the second parameter. So the second function will run when I click on the button with class ID. So for temporary, I'm going to show clicked on confirm button. Fine. Now you can see it, the add event listener is working fine. So in place of message, what I want to do is I want to make the model display none. Just copy paste the code. Previously we have made display block. Now make it display none. So when I click on the confirm, I want the model to get disappeared. Fine, it's working. Along with that, what I need to do is I'm going to get the parent of the span. Since I have already told you, I have placed the span tag in such a way it is in the first child of the section. So to get the parent, with the help of element e.target with a property e.target, you will get the span tag. Now with the help of we get the span tag, and with the help of parent property you'll get the direct parent. The direct parent here is simply the section. So let me show you. If I click on X confirm, you can see the section is getting called. Let me add some more thing. You can see there are multiple draggable section, and each time it is going to select the parent element of the span, and I want to remove it. I don't have to pass it inside the console message. It should be outside the console message. So you can see if you click on confirm, it will get removed quickly. I don't want it to go quickly. I want it to remove with transition. So for that I'm going to add a class So that class will have some property which is transform and opacity. So let's add a class to the section which is a parent of the span tag. So let me create a variable for the parent and store it in the name as section. You can see, let me console and show you that I have selected the parent. Confirm, you can see the parent is selected. Now I'm going to add a class, and that class will be added to the parent dot class list dot add, and the name of the class is slowly. Let me show you what slowly is. I have transform and opacity to it, and now you can see it won't get removed, but it will add the animation. Fine, it's working now. Once the animation is done, I want to remove. So for that, this doesn't work the way we think. You can see it's quickly getting disappeared. For that, we have to add listener to the container. Sorry, here the container is simply the section. We have to add listener to the section, and it's not click, it's not change, it's going to be transition end. And once the transition is ended, I want to remove the parent. Now the transition will work. Along with that, I want to make the model as none. Fine, confirm, and it's gone with the animation. It's because of the transition end. Now we are going to make we have missed one thing, which is the model with close. Choose the element again as we did it for the, you can see we have already done it somewhere over here for the confirm. It ends over here. Now with the help of document.get element by id, I'm going to pass the id, and then I'm going to add a listener, and it will be click. So if I click on it, I want the model to get display none. The same way, make sure I'm writing this inside the check for the span tag. If the span has class closes, then only I'm going to add listener to this button, or else it would be useless. Fine, now we have completed the module. Now let's get into the next one, which is make this div draggable. So we are going to add a class to each section. I have already done it. You can see draggable is over here, and for dynamically appending also I have added draggable. So let me get the draggable element. With the help of document.query selector all, since we have multiple draggable element, we can use query selector all. So this will give you the node list, so you can access the node list one by one using for each loop. So let me show you how the node list looks like. The draggable text will show up, so make sure to paste it just after the appending of the HTML is done. Remove the remove the codes so that you get the node list. You can see it's a node list. We have two div with the draggable class. Now these two div, I'm going to pass it to the for each, so that each of them can have a listener, which is drag start and drag end. So we can access one by one with the help of this variable draggable one by one. Add event listener, which is drag start, and that function will simply show you a message called dragging has started. So if you click and drag the section with class draggable, it is going to give you the message drag started. So the same way, I'm going to add another listener, which is drag end. You can see If I leave it, it is going to say drag end. Fine. Now I'm going to add a class. Instead of just messaging, I'm going to add a class to the element which I have dragged. So the class name would be dragging. And I want to remove it when I leave, that is drag end. I want to remove the class. I think there is a syntax error over there. We have to make drag end, and remove is a function name, and the class name is dragging. Now it will work. The dragging is simply, I have decreased the opacity to 0.3, which is 30%. You can see if I start drag, the opacity has 30% just. Fine. Now I'm going to add a listener which is drag over to the container. So this event is going to get triggered when I simply drag anything over the container. So just to show you, let me give you a message. I'm not going to give you the message. I'm just going to directly call the div which I am dragging at present. So the dragging at present div has a class dragging. So let me store it into a variable, and I'm going to temporarily append this element with class dragging to the container. And this temporary append is going to be just one way. It is going to from top to bottom. You cannot drag it in the middle. Top to bottom appending does not work in opposite way. You can see opposite way is not going to work, but top to bottom will work. We are halfway there. Now we are going to stop, so we are going to remove the symbol which is stop. With the help of e.prevent default, you can remove the stop symbol on the cursor while dragging. So you can see now it will allow you to drag. If I drag outside, you'll see the stop symbol. If you drag inside, you can see the stop symbol has disappeared with the help of e.prevent default. Now we are going to change the position. To change the position, we need to get the mouse position. So for that, e.clientY will give you the mouse position, and I'm going to pass it to a function. Now if I drag it inside the container, you can see if I drag outside, you are not going to get the value. If I drag inside, you are going to get the value. Now pass this position to a function to get the element to append. I have already made a video for this. I have clearly explained each and every line, so I'll leave the link in the description to follow. I'm going to rush a bit. I'm not going to explain you the reduce function. So I'm going to pass this to a function called find element, and I'm going to define the reduce element over here, and it will return an element. As I said, I have already explained it. I'll leave the link in the description. So this is a link to follow, and this function will simply give you the element to append. So I can store it into this element, into this variable which is element to replace, and pass this element to replace function. Now if you run it, it is going to work. There is an error. Let's see what it is. I think I have misspelled the function name while defining. And now the error is solved. Now you can see you can change the position from top to bottom, and you can add bottom to top. Anywhere is possible. Previously it was just one way. Now you can bind the section anywhere you want. Now the next part, what we are going to do is, on click on the button, I want to make the image preview. So don't worry, don't forget to visit the link and learn the reduce function, learn about the reduce function. Now I'm going to add a listener to the container. Why I'm adding listener to the container? Because of the event delegation. You won't be able to access directly to the element which is dynamically created. For that you have to call the parent and add listener to it. That's the reason why I'm adding. If the same way, if the e.target has a class, so this is the class name. You just have to understand the input and the image are in the same div. Input followed by that we have an image. Don't forget that input followed by image. So when I click on the image, so when I click on the input field, I'm going to get it true. So when I click outside, I would be getting false. False is working. So when I click on the input, I should get true, but it's not working. Let me see why. There are two classes, so we have to pass the index number also. Previously the span has only one class, so I didn't pass the index. Now we have two classes, so for that we have to pass the index. Now you can see when I click on the input field, it says true. When I click outside, it says false. So if it's true, then we're going to add a listener. The listener is simply the change for the input field. Input type equal to file, and store it into a variable called input file. So I'm going to add a listener which is change. When I change, I want two things. The first one is the file I chose, and the second thing is the image tag. So the first thing, I'm going to get the image. To get the image, the E is simply representing the input field. Input field next element is simply the image. So with the help of next element sibling, you can access the image. That's why I have placed it inside a div. Now if I console and check, I would be getting the image. I would be getting an error. It is because you cannot give the keyword img as a name. You have to make some other thing. Let me make it imgs, and I have to pass e.target. It's not working. I'm trying to click it. You can see nothing is showing up. Let me change the variable name to imgs. You can give any name. It's a variable name. Now if you choose, you can see the image you are getting. Now along with the image, I need the file. So e.target.files, pass the array number 0, index number 0. If you don't pass index 0, it won't work. Now for these also I have covered a tutorial. I'll leave the link in the description to follow with me. I have clearly explained line by line. Fine. Now with the help of file reader, it will load the image. And if I wish to click for the first one and load the image and preview it, it's working. And I'm going to change the position, and I wish to remove it, I can also remove it. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening. This is a 26 project. To follow along, to follow along, watch every project in the playlist.